Let's move to this story, facial recognition, but in a very specific context. And of course, we've talked many times about facial recognition, but this is Notting Hill Carnival. It's going to be used for the first time in a bid to crack down on violence. We know that last year's event was horrendous. 8 stabbings, 1 fatal, and the killing of another man who was beaten and kicked to death at a flipping carnival, for God's sake. Police say that scanning for serious offenders will make the event even safer, but the move has sparked criticism from organisers and civil liberties campaigners. I think that's the least of their worries, their civil liberties, when you've got that amount of people in one place. It's already out of control. Alex Wilson is the London Assembly member for Reform UK, who joins us on the programme. Good to hear you and good to see you again, Alex.
Good afternoon, great to be on the show.
Not a problem. What are you making of this? We know that the Notting Hill Carnival, I think you've asked questions of the Mayor on this, and I know lots of others have, and you don't tend to get an answer from the Mayor on anything, particularly when you've got Reform UK written on your name badge. He seems all the more obstinate when it comes to answering your questions. But so we know it's a very dangerous event, and I don't want to sort of overstate it or be too dramatic, but when 8 people get stabbed and 2 die, that's the definition of a dangerous event, right?
Absolutely. So on this question of the use of facial recognition technology to identify and then hopefully apprehend persistent, repeat and known offenders, I welcome it. I think it's perfect common sense tool for the police to have in their armoury as they try to manage this enormous event, which, as you know, takes place in London every August bank holiday. My general instincts politically are fairly libertarian, so I'm not particularly mad keen on the idea of rolling out mass surveillance for the sake of it, but I think here we have specific situations going on, and I think it's a specific tool to be used well, hopefully, on this particular occasion. But what it doesn't do is get away from the fact that in your introduction, as you've said, Notting Hill Carnival is an event which causes an awful lot of problems every year, and it costs a huge amount to police. £12 million to police, when the Met's budgets are already very overstretched. That's an enormous drain on their resources. And the officers themselves, the frontline officers, don't enjoy doing it. Last year, the Met Police Federation surveyed their members, and I think about 89% said they don't feel safe when they're working at Carnival, and almost a third of them said that they have been themselves physically assaulted while policing this event. So that's the kind of context that we're dealing with. I think it's now time to think about moving it and doing it as a proper managed ticketed event in Hyde Park. Because just last year at Carnival, 2 murders and 8 stabbings, as you said, 75 police officers injured, 349 arrests, and particularly worrying, over 100 what the Met have called spontaneous crowd incidents, where there's real chance of crushing because putting the procession through the narrow streets that are not designed for an event of this magnitude to go through there. It's only a matter of time before we get a Hillsborough-style crushing event there, and that's not my words. That's from the Met Assistant Commissioner Matt Twist when he reported that back to the London Assembly Police and Crime Committee last year. So huge event, yes. Lots of people enjoy themselves while they're doing it, but it should be done in a different way. Any other event on this scale, whether it be a cultural event, a political event, that led to this number of problems, would not be allowed to continue in its current form. And now I think is the time for Notting Hill Carnival to be managed differently. Yeah,
and in terms of, I mean, you mentioned the narrow street, and of course neighbours are not, and residents are not particularly happy about it. We know that this is an event that once attracted 70,000 people and now attracts 2 million people. I mean, you've just got to look at that number to see that that cannot surely be sustained.
Yeah, in some ways, it's become a victim of its own success. It has obviously grown exponentially over the years to become an event on the scale that it is now. And yet the streets there are just not built for this to happen in that way. And the local residents have problems, but as I say, the police, and it's their job to keep everybody safe, and they would find that an awful lot easier and probably an awful lot cheaper for the London taxpayer who's got to foot the bill for all this if it was done in a more sensible, more managed way. It's a ticketed event in Hyde Park. I think that's the future.
Yeah, I think you're right. Listen, Alex, thank you very much indeed for that. Alex Wilson, Reform UK London Assembly member on